Hello, possibly welcome back. If you've watched the video on, general financial calculator instruction, that also had specific content related to what calculator was it? HP 10B2 Plus financial calculator by Hewlett Packard. That's a mouthful. Now we switch gears to a TI calculator, in particular the BA2 Plus. So this is going to be a shorter video, I think much shorter than the last video. And let's get started. So let's turn the calculator off because we need to turn it on. And it's pretty simple. There you go. That's self-explanatory, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that as it relates to this financial calculator model. So we're going to be walking through the same examples or real world situations that we did in the first video. And let's take it from the top. So let's start with how to adjust the number of decimal places to the right of the decimal point. Here we're going to be using the second key. So second format, which is kind of easy to remember because it's right down here by the decimal point. And then enter a number like 6, enter, clear. There you go. You have 6 places to the right of the decimal point. Let's do it again because reps are good. Second format, 9, enter, clear. Notice what happens. That's our limit. So let's go back. Second format, 8, enter. We're going to be using the enter key quite a bit with this financial calculator. When we clear that out, you can count them. We have 8 places to the right of the decimal point. Let's go back to 2. Second format, 2, enter. We're going to clear. There we go. That'll work for now. So let's walk through this first real world example. We mentioned that signs matter. What do we mean by that? Well, with respect to the financial calculator, we need to think about investments or deposits where money flows out of our hands. That's a negative sign. When money flows into our hands, that's a positive no sign value. So whenever we're dealing with a financial calculator, signs matter. Not the case with the building block time value of money equations, where we use all positive no sign values for dollar values or values in any currency, euro, for example. But let's walk through this question that considers a $100 investment made at the beginning of this investment period. It could be today, it could be 10 years from now, but it's going to happen now. So we are going to clear the financial calculator. And this is how I've figured out how to do it. There may be a better way, but I press negative, and then that kind of sets it up as far as I can tell. 100, and then negative again, and PV. So $100 investment. I may have misspoken earlier. Let's just assume it's made today. As we're going to learn in this class, if you don't know already, present value is not always as of today, just like the future value isn't as of a certain number of periods from now or the present. With time value of money or the mathematics of finance, we're concerned with compounding monies into the future, discounting monies back in time, not necessarily to today. But for this question, let's just assume that the $100 investment, money is leaving our hands, is made today or now. To keep with the numbers we used last time, let's put in 2 for N. This means that we have a 2-period investment horizon. Let's use the recall key as we've done. Recall PV, $100 investment. How long is the investment horizon? Recall N. It's a 2-period investment horizon. Don't think 2 years. Don't think 2 months. Don't think 2 quarters. For now, just think 2 periods, because the timeline always starts at 0. It steps up by 1. And one of the questions we have to ask ourselves when we work with the mathematics of finance is, what is that period of time? How are we telling time between the period marker 0 and period marker 1, for example, or period marker 2 and period marker 3. How are we, that's not relevant to this question, but how are we telling time in between period markers on the timeline? That's why I don't like interest rate per year notation on financial calculators, because the true investment yield will sometimes be a true semi-annual investment yield or a true monthly investment yield, or for people who like to talk in terms of interest rates, a true annual interest rate. So right now I want to think of that timeline that you're hopefully visualizing in your mind's eye as having periods between the period markers. We just don't know what those are yet. And when we get the answer here, hopefully we'll be able to shed a little more light on that. So let's recall the investment, $100 investment. Recall the investment horizon. We're dealing with 2 periods here. Let's put in 0 for payment because it's good form. We want to fill out all of these basic or primary or main time value of money keys. And this is where most of the action is going to be happening with this BA2 plus TI calculator, financial calculator. This is where you're going to be doing most of the inputting right here on that third line. So recall payment, recall PV, the initial investment. We need to be able to interpret these financial calculator keys. Recall N. Okay, what does N mean? We have a 2-period investment horizon. And now I'm looking at my cheat sheet to match it up to last time. Recall I. We have a 5% investment yield. And now we have to press compute future value. We have to use the compute key for this calculator. That's not a bad thing. It's just something you need to know. So let's go through the recall process again. We're getting our reps in. This is a $100 investment. We're assuming it's made today. We have a 2-period investment horizon. Now, hopefully you can start to visualize in your mind's eye the timeline and what this is going to look like. Monies are going to be compounded at a true investment yield of 5%. We don't have any even recurring payments. So there are no frequent even payments. That's why that's 0. Remember, these are the 3 payment keys, 2 for single lump sum payments and 1 for an even or level payment, if it's applicable. Here we don't have it. And when we computed future value, that's what we got. Okay, let's go back to this issue of the timeline and how we're telling time between time period markers. If we were telling time between time period markers with annual time periods, then this is a true annual investment yield. And after 2 periods, this $100 investment will have grown to $110.25. Got that? Pretty simple because we like to think in terms of annual periods. Okay, let's go back to this example and let's change one thing. Let's assume that this timeline that has 2 time period markers, let's assume that the time span in between each time period marker was a quarter, so 3 months. This is now a true quarterly investment yield. Okay, is this clicking? You have a 2-period investment horizon. You're going to make a $100 investment today. That's a deposit. That's an investment. It's a negative sign because monies are flowing out of your hand. And that money is going to be invested. It's going to compound over 2 periods. Each period is a quarter or 3 months. And the future value doesn't change. You've just changed how you think about that true investment yield. Here, in this most recent example, that's a true quarterly investment yield or interest rate for the people who like to use that dated language, because not every investment promises interest. So I hope you got that. Now let's work on how we clear the financial calculator. When we're dealing with these primary time value of money keys, this TVM line on the financial calculator, we can clear it by going to second and clear TVM. We can clear that 5 off of our screen. And now let's go back and recall to double check. Recall future value. Good. We don't have anything. Recall payment. We don't have to do this every time, but I'm just showing you that, yes, in fact, that cleared out every one of these time value of money registers. So that's great. We got that. Let's go into our next example. And the next example, if you've had an opportunity to watch that first video, this next example contemplates an even or level payment. And, I recommend that you watch that first video. I'll probably post an announcement as to say as much, because there's quite a bit of general information as I'm kind of sprinkling some general time value of money, useful information into this video as well. But this obviously is specific to this TI financial calculator. So let's go on to this next example that contemplates 2 even payments of $100. Visualize the timeline in your mind's eye. You've got a 0 on the top of it, a 1, and a 2. A 2-period timeline. If you don't have experience drawing timelines yet, we're going to be drawing a lot of them in this course. So let's make sure we clear the registers again. We know we did, but let's just do it because I've been talking here a little bit. Clear the time value of money registers. Great. Now we've got $100 that we will be receiving 1 period from now. Notice how I didn't say year. 1 period from now, and then 2 periods from now, we'll receive that other $100 bill. So we're going to put in 100 for payment. It's level. In other words, it's even, so it can go there. And it's frequent in that it's not a lump sum or a single payment, so it can go there. These are our 3 payment keys. These 2 are for single lump sum payments. This is for the even level payments. And that $100 is even, it's level. We're going to be receiving 2 of those. Remember, the way that I teach this, there is a relationship between what we input for payment and N. Same is true for the building block time value money equations that we're going to be working with when we work the longhand of math, because we don't want this to be too much of a crutch. We want to know what the calculator is doing. We want to be able to double check our mathematics of finance. Of course, people will use these tools of the trade, these financial calculators, but we want to really know the math behind it. Now we're going to put in 10 for our true investment yield. Notice we haven't given the true investment yield a name yet. It could be a true annual investment yield. It could be a true quarterly investment yield, to go back to the last example. It could be a true semi-annual investment yield. It could be a true monthly investment yield. Wouldn't that be slick? Because 10% for a true monthly rate, that'd be awesome. I'd like to invest there. 0 for future value. And now we have to press compute. Compute PV, we get $173.55. This is the present value of this ordinary annuity that contemplates $100 to be received 1 period into the future, and then the second of the 2 $100 payments to be received 2 periods from, let's call it now. Assuming a 10% true investment yield, you would be indifferent between receiving this amount today, $173.55, or that series that contemplates $100 to be received twice. First, 1 period from today, and then 2 periods from today. So indifferent is the one word that I think about when I think of the time value of money. The time value of money, the mathematics of finance, it's all about being indifferent and figuring out that point of indifference. Okay, so we're going to clear our time value of money, the basic time value of money registers, once again, by pressing second and then clear TVM. And we're going to clear that off of our display. Now let's move on to an uneven annuity. And again, by uneven annuity, we mean that the payments go up and down. They're not even or level. And we can do that with this calculator as well, obviously, because it's a financial calculator. So here's how we do this. We press cash flow. This takes us into the IRR or net present value functionality of the calculator. And, it looks like there's a straggler. I didn't do this by design, but it's good that we came to this. So we're going to clear this out. To clear the IRR, or net present value, registers in your financial calculator, if this is yours, you then press second, clear work. That'll take care of it. So let's go back to this uneven example. Cash flow, 0. Oh, was that still there? Second, clear work. Cash flow, there we go. Cash flow, 0, enter. Now notice the CF0. That stands for cash flow at time period 0, or the beginning of the investment horizon. Now we're going to use the down button, at least for now. We go down to cash flow 1. We're going to use the same example we did in the first video. $100, enter. That's a $100 no sign value. So hopefully you realize that's going to be money that's going to be flowing in. The expectation is that one period from now, we're going to be receiving $100. What does that stand for? That's the frequency. There's one of them. So we go down to cash flow 2, $200, enter. Down, down. Cash flow 3, $300, enter. Down, down. $400, enter. What do we need to do now? We need to go down. Okay, we're not going to have a fifth cash flow because our investment horizon considers 4 time periods, or time period markers on the timeline. So now we're going to press the net present value button, and we're asked for the true investment yield. So how are we going to be discounting back these cash flows? We're going to select 8%, so 8, 0, or 8, enter, 8, enter, and that's a percentage. So notice the percentage format here. Press down, we've been pressing down a lot, press down, and then we come to net present value. We're going to press compute, and it's going to give us the net present value. Cases, it's a net present value, but it's really a present value. Why do I say that? Because there's nothing to net it out. There was no investment at time period 0. So the present value here, or let's just call it what it is, the net present value, is $796.22. Okay, let's clear out all those registers in the net present value, or IRR, function of the calculator. We do that by pressing second and clear work. Hopefully it did at that time. I must have pressed it too lightly last time. Cash flow 0, negative 100, negative, enter. So let's interpret that. We're going to be inputting all the other numbers are the same going forward. This is an opportunity to invest $100. Monies would be leaving our hand. $100 1 year from now. I must not have pressed it hard enough, but we'll just stick with this. $200 2 periods from now. We'll be receiving $300 3 periods from now, and $400 4 periods from now. We're going to press net present value again, and that'll take us to our true investment yield that we're modeling. And here it's 8%. Down, once again, compute, and it's $100 less. Of course it is. Why? Because it was net of that $100 investment at the beginning of our investment horizon. So the numbers are matching up. I hope you found this to be helpful. If this is your financial calculator, you might know how to do this already. But as I mentioned in the first video, it never seems to, it never fails. It seems that in most of my classrooms where we have upper level finance students, there are always a handful of people who do have questions about their financial calculators. And I may have mentioned this in the first video. I wanted to be able to provide videos like these because That's just better than saying figure it out, right? I didn't spend hours reading users' manuals for financial calculators, but this is pretty much the extent of what we're going to be doing with our financial calculators. We're going to be using this line of the primary time value of money inputs. Occasionally, we're going to be using the IRR or net present value functionality. You might be wondering, what does IRR stand for? The internal rate of return. Again, net present value is short for or NPV is short for the net present value. So present value net of the initial investment. But this is pretty much it. So long as you know how to change the number of decimal places to the right of the decimal point, so long as you know how to use the recall key to go into the different registers. Clearing is big. Here's how we clear the basic keys. Here's how we clear the keys that we use for the uneven annuity, the annuity that considers payments that are not level. That's pretty much it. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you soon.